Right now on Upfront.
Dropping out and endorsing.
I want to be very clear that there was no establishment process.
The Democratic primary race for governor heating up. David Crowley drops out and endorses Sarah Rodriguez.
He could have said nothing at all. Instead, he stepped forward.
Now, 5 candidates remain ahead of the key fundraising deadline this week, the Marquette Law School poll and our debate. This Sunday, Democratic Congresswoman Gwen Moore weighing in on the primary, now a month away.
Targeting fraud.
That is, in my view, borderline criminal.
The vice president in Wisconsin ahead of the midterms, and now new demands from state lawmakers after our reporting on changes coming to Wisconsin's Medicaid-funded long-term care program.
It's your money that's getting spent.
Representative Bob Wicke, co-chair of the state's audit committee, standing by.
Police funding.
Be careful what you ask.
The police chief and sheriff from the state's largest city and county responding to all the talk in the race for governor.
And remembering Paul Farrow.
You're a public servant. You are here to serve the people that elected you.
The Waukesha County executive passing away after a long and hard-fought battle with cancer.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. 30 days until Wisconsin's primary, 16 days until our Democratic primary debate for governor, and a fundraising deadline now just 3 days away.
This past week, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley dropped out of the race and immediately endorsed Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, the second candidate to do so following Missy Hughes. The move now leaves 5 candidates in the race, 1 month ahead of the primary. Rodriguez and Crowley appearing together in Milwaukee Thursday.
County Executive, did Mandela Barnes reach out to you for your endorsement?
I was reached out by every candidate, to be honest with you. I'm not going to specifically talk about any specific candidate, but I was reached out by all of them.
How quickly did you make your decision on the lieutenant governor? In terms of having conversations with all the other campaigns?
I made my decision when I realized that I was getting out of this race. That's when I made my decision. And I want to be very clear about something. Nobody called me or anything like that to ask me to step out of this race. This race is about making sure that we can have the best candidate run in this race. So having 6 different candidates, we are now, I think, 1 week and a half into early voting. And I think it's extremely important that all of us as candidates start to make decisions about how we need to win this race and making sure that we are keeping the Democratic Party and keeping the people at the center of all of these decisions. So I want to be very clear that there was no establishment process. This is me making a decision in this race to support Sarah Rodriguez because I believe that she is the best candidate.
Would you urge other candidates to drop out at this point?
I absolutely, I never want to tell a candidate what to do, right? It's always like telling somebody whether or not they should get into a race. But I do think that all the candidates should be looking really hard as far as what do they want to see as an outcome. And for me, there's no way that I could think about who I want to be the next governor outside of myself, understanding that because I was in this race, that we weren't able to get the type of win that we needed. And so I know how to put my ego aside and make sure that I'm thinking about the people of Wisconsin, and I think every candidate, no matter what race that they're in, should always be thinking about those opportunities as they get closer to an election.
And with that, let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Gwen Moore. Congresswoman, always good to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Let's start right there. Just your reaction to what David Crowley said in the midst of what we're seeing in this primary.
Well, let me say, David Crowley is a much beloved county executive. I think that he's very talented. He has good managerial skills. I think that he would have been a great governor. But of course, the data showed that there was no really path for him to win. And so he decided to drop out and to endorse Sarah Rodriguez. I think that although he's endorsed Sarah Rodriguez, I think that being from Milwaukee County, that a lot of his votes will go to Mandela Barnes, despite his endorsement of Sarah Rodriguez. I think Sarah will absolutely benefit from his doing that, and based on what he has said there, is that he is encouraging other candidates to to drop out as well, to coalesce around the candidate that he has chosen. So I think it's going to be a very energetic campaign. I think Francesca Hong has been organizing very vigorously, and I think she has a really solid base. So I think that it's now a very competitive three-person race.
You are a very important voice in this for Democrats over the next 4 weeks. First, want to assure you you're still not going to endorse?
Well, I was very committed to a team nominee endorsement. I think, obviously, any one of those three candidates is much better than Tom Tiffany. I mean, I know so much more about Tom Tiffany than I do any one of the top three candidates.
So in terms of an endorsement ahead of the primary?
It's not going to happen today here.
Not going to happen
Matt,
today
on your
here.
program.
All right.
You know, you know, I have been very committed to team nominee, and I think, as I see, and a lot of people have stayed on the sidelines just to let the people speak up. But David has sort of changed that.
Is it time
calculation,
to come off the sidelines?
And so we'll see what happens. But I'm very excited about the campaign. I do have an opponent myself, and I want people to come out and vote August 11th.
You mentioned Francesca Hong, her support, her surge in some of the polls, and her support. Do you think a Democratic Socialist can win statewide? Well,
you know, I don't think that we should be bullied by the use of socialism. No matter who our nominee is, they're going to be called to socialism.
But she calls herself that.
And she called herself that. She's, I guess I'll quote Bill Clinton that I saw a couple of weeks ago, and he said, if we were in Britain, the Democratic Party would be 5 different parties. There would be Democratic Socialists. There would be people belonging to the Labor Party. There would be a progressive wing. There would be, and we're just the Democrats. And this is something that's a blessing and a curse, but it's a blessing that we're a big tent. And I think that anybody, and if Francesca Hong is calling herself a Democratic Socialist, but all of the nominees believe in public education. They all believe in some kind of universal health care or access to health care. All of them believe in Social Security and standing that up and not privatizing it. They believe in the Social Services Block Grant Fund. These are aspects of our capitalist economy that are already a part of our democracy. I don't know that Francesca Hong will win a primary with some of her messaging. But I do think that we have got to buoy ourselves against, I don't think we can be we should kowtow to the notion, because they're going to call any one of those people. They would have called David Crowley a socialist.
You mentioned the 3 leading candidates on the Democratic side. Just really quickly, for clarity, who are you talking about in those 3 candidates?
I'm talking about Mandela, Francesca Hong, and Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez.
So at this point, do you think any other candidate should drop out?
Well, I have not made those calls for them to do that. I do think that that August 11th, between August 11th and November, is a very short period of time, and if they don't drop out, I really want to see a huge victory breakfast where people come together.
When the vice president was here as well, former Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan was sentenced for a felony for obstructing ICE agents. Her sentence was a $5,000 fine, no jail or probation. Do you think that was the right sentence? Was that the right sentence?
I think that was the right sentence. I think that she's suffered humiliation. She's lost her job. I don't think there was any really compelling evidence that she was not acting in good faith. She was operating on the basis of that they didn't have a judicial warrant. They didn't have they had an administrative warrant. She was operating under what we knew as the law before Trump. And so I think she's a decent human being. I hope that someday, we have a governor, and we have a governor now, actually, that may this is a federal crime. We'll have a president maybe sometime who will use the pardon power appropriately. So I hope that we'll get a president who will use the pardon power to pardon her.
4 weeks until the primary. Democratic Congresswoman Gwen Moore. Congresswoman, like always, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Our Democratic primary debate for governor live in prime time is July 28th at 7 p.m. It will air statewide and streaming. Those specific details in the coming weeks.
Coming up, the vice president in Wisconsin touting the Trump administration's fraud crackdown. Now new developments after our reporting on big changes to a multi-billion-dollar Medicaid-funded program here in Wisconsin.
I don't know about you, but how about we give more authority, more power, and more influence to the party that is trying to save your money and send the fraudsters to prison?
Vice President J.D. Vance in Milwaukee Wednesday touting the Trump administration's nationwide fraud crackdown while quickly looking ahead to the midterms. The crowd also hearing from Wisconsin's Republican delegation, including Assembly Majority Leader Tyler August.
We have a government in Madison right now that decided to hire a company that was already being scrutinized for their handling of medical assistance programs in other states and has now got a DOJ lawsuit against them.
2 weeks ago, we reported on those concerns from Republicans and Democrats across the country. The State Department of Health Services is making changes to Wisconsin's Medicaid-funded long-term care program called IRIS. The state is planning to switch to one vendor, Public Partnerships, LLC. The Justice Department, though, is now suing the company and has faced immense scrutiny for its rollout in New York.
And just last week, the co-chairs of the state's audit committee sent this letter to DHS, now requesting documents and responses to a list of questions about the change. Republican State Representative Bob Wicke is one of those co-chairs. He joins us now. Representative, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's back up just for a quick second. Walk me through the broad concern here and what you're looking for from DHS.
So you have to understand, as co-chair of the audit committee, we get together with the state auditor and we start to take a look at things that we should have oversight over. Once this lawsuit came up, we got very concerned, mainly because we're concerned with the people it serves. So we have started to ask questions about the process, ask questions about where they are, how they're doing. You've got 3 vendors that are protesting their actual giving out of a contract. Yeah. And so it catches our eye.
You've asked a number of questions and you asked for a response from DHS by this past Wednesday. Have they answered all of your questions?
Well, I have the letter right here. And yes, if you go through, you can see I've gotten responses to everything. Like, for example, what specific monitoring steps will DHS perform in oversight of the contract with PPL? What specifically are the performance metrics for PPL? That's something that everybody should be concerned with. No contract has been executed. We're currently in the protest stage. No finalization of the protest has occurred. We are still under review. That's basically a lot of the content we've gotten for responses.
So what have you learned from DHS and why aren't those responses sufficient? Basically a letter response. The only thing I can say is that they may have put the brakes on a little bit based on some of the outside things that they see with lawsuits in New York and people going, the protests they've got from the rest of the vendors. As far as, if I go into one of the letters, I think one of the things that they talk about is the fact that they don't believe that the process was delivered appropriately by whatever manual the DHS is using. So have we learned why they've gone to this? The biggest question that we have wanted to ascertain is why go to a single payer? There's nothing in this document that we've received by the 8th that tells us why. I mean, that should be outside of the RFP proposal. It should be, you should be able to answer quite clearly why you believe that's best.
As we sit here today, in your mind, what is the broad goal? Is it to reverse this initial decision for PPL, or what would you like to see happen?
So I've thought about that, and one of the things that I would like to see is the brakes put on, no contract executed, questions answered, and then go through, if you have to, and redo the process that's more transparent to people and move forward that way.
You were at the vice president's event. You mentioned the governor's race.
Yeah.
Tom Tiffany has talked a lot about audits and fraud and looking at State Department if he was elected. How would that be different than what the audit committee currently does or the audit bureau in terms of what he's promising to do out on the campaign trail?
I don't know, because I've asked the question several times. My biggest thing would be is what the people of Wisconsin should understand is that the governor appoints the heads of these agencies. I haven't had a problem with the agencies when we do the audit. What we have had problems with is when the findings come up, getting them to do something. We've audited quite a bit. If somebody wants us to do more and will back us or work with us on legislation, I would welcome that. I haven't seen an exact time, but I've talked to Tom, and I know he wants accountability. So maybe there are ways to work through this, but there are specific steps to work through the audit committee for it.
This is an important program impacting tens of thousands of Wisconsinites. State Representative Bob Wittke, we appreciate your time on this. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You can watch our initial reporting and that warning from a New York State lawmaker right now on the 12 News YouTube page under the Upfront playlist. Up next, police funding and the candidates for governor. The police chief and the sheriff from the state's largest city and county are responding with us next. One month until the primary and growing attention on the Democrat candidates for governor and their positions on law enforcement and policing. A lot of that attention targeting Francesca Hong, the Democratic socialist who's previously publicly called for defunding police. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel also reported Hong told a group of supporters in May, quote, "I think that my perfect world would be a world without prisons," end quote. Hong with us in April. Is that still your position to defund police?
I think we have to make investments in what would help prevent crime, investments in communities, our public schools, community centers, public libraries. And I think that when there are limited resources, we have to look at where we can make cuts as well as where we can make investments.
Mandela Barnes has also faced scrutiny, both in his previous U.S. Senate bid and now the race for governor. I'm curious, if you were governor, would there be more law enforcement here in the state?
Well, it's been years of you asking me this question now, and I can tell you I don't support defunding the police. I need to do everything we can do possibly to make sure communities are safe. That means investing on the front end, and it also means that making sure that law enforcement have the resource they need. There has to be a front and a backside approach to making sure community safety is the reality all across Wisconsin. We should all be fighting to make sure that crime doesn't exist in the first place. And while crime is still a reality, we have to be able to respond to it appropriately.
So this past week, we asked about funding when Milwaukee's police chief and the county sheriff discussed the latest crime trends. What would happen if your departments received less funding or eliminated funding, as some candidates for governor have suggested they support?
You get the police department you invest in. And we need to understand that there is a value added to having a strong, supported public safety. People don't build. People don't live in communities that don't feel that there is a support of your public safety. And so that always and shall always remain to be part of the conversation. But I'm not in a position to dictate how the money's spent. All I can do is say, be careful what you ask for. And understand that we are working as best as we can collaboratively, but there still is that type of investment, which I'm very appreciative of our mayor, of making that commitment to ensure that we have the adequate resources to do the work that you're seeing.
Just about everything we do has a level of public safety involved. If people don't feel safe, they're not going to live in the communities. People are not going to build, they're not going to invest. And so public safety is something that is important for all of us. And so I would hope those who are advocating for reducing the amount of money that we have really look at the effects that it could have on the community as a whole.
Let me just say as well that I have made tremendous investments in public safety in Milwaukee. In the police department, the fire department, and other places too, soft places for public safety. I haven't seen this But I hope that there's no candidate for governor who is requesting a reduction in support for public safety.
All right, up next, remembering Paul Farrow.
Condolences still coming in this weekend for Waukesha County Executive Paul Farrow, who died this past week after a 2-year battle with cancer. Farrow served in the State Assembly and Senate before elected Waukesha County Executive in 2015. He was also former chairman of the state Republican Party, and in late 2024 invited us in as he documented his journey publicly.
My job as a public servant is always to figure out how to teach. And as you know, my mom was always that way. How do you make things better for somebody else? What can you do? And so I think this is what I looked at and said, okay, I can do this. When I started in politics, Mom always said, you're a public servant. You are here to serve the people that elected you. That is your responsibility and that is your duty.
Farrow, the son of the state's first woman lieutenant governor, Margaret Farrow. Our condolences this weekend to his entire family and the entire staff in Waukesha County.
Well, that's our show today. All of our interviews are posted on the WISN 12 YouTube page. Just find and subscribe to the Upfront playlist.
Thank you for your time. We'll see you right back here next Sunday for Upfront.